assuming is banking or has gotten trapped on a photo shoot somewhere. And it looks like he's just joined us, but he's muted himself. So I'm assuming he's sweeping the parking lot out at the bank, guys. Either at a roll and change. But this is this is the time of the show where we normally get into a little bit of scheduling or lack of scheduling or queries about scheduling and our Twitter information. So I proudly turn over the virtual microphone to Case Hopkins on a 6-foot boom. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the boom arm on my desk is not quite that long, but our physical distance is quite significant.
All I need to know is if you got your mask on today to, preparations for Tuesday.
I don't. I did wear it a couple of days during the week while I was working just to try and get used to wearing it for long periods of time while sitting at a computer doing nothing. But alas, not wearing it now because it bumps up against the mic and makes some scratchy noises a lot of times.
The moderns of technology. Yeah. All right, sir.
So just start with Twitter. I tweet is at best case scenario. If you were following along last night, I joined in on someone asking about which candy would you rather eat 2 pounds of. None of the options were good, by the way. Picked candy corn just because it seemed like the most dense candy. So, that's the kind of quality content you get if you follow me on Twitter.
That's a good question. I think that, boy, if I had to answer that, I'm looking at Snickers bars.
Well, I got to give you the options, right? Oh. Obviously, a good candy would be the right choice, but the options were Peeps, Red Vines, some other candy that no one should ever pick, and candy corn. And of those options, they were not great choices.
Not great.
No, those are not good at all. Yeah, I don't think I would put none of the above. Actually, was that an option? Golly,
it was for $50,000, which I don't know if it was worth. I don't know if $50,000 is enough for the suffering you would endure for
2 hours of candy corn, $50,000. I don't know. I bet my blood sugar would spike off of the roof. Wow.
I think Peeps is obviously not the right answer. There's no mass to Peeps, so you're just going to be eating those for days to try to get to 2 pounds of them.
That would be a house full of Peeps.
Anyway, Jeff tweets is at Jeff McAdams and at Card Couple Radio. No Card Couple Radio tweets in, I don't know. I haven't checked the account, so I don't know what the actual date of the last Card Couple Radio tweet was. But
it had to be
the last
back
time
in
there was a
February, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe when basketball was canceled.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember. I haven't in a while, so.
Yeah. Polly tweets is at Cardinal Couple, and then Jared as Mr. Anderson Jared. As always, check out that site. On the right side of the site, we have a running Twitter list of all of the UofL women's athletics Twitter accounts that you can follow along all in one spot. I believe that you can follow the list straight from that widget on your Twitter account. Maybe not. As we move on to the schedule, like Paulie mentioned, it's still empty. There's nothing on the schedule. Strangely, UofL has deleted all of their fall schedules. I just confirmed this by looking at the GoCard site. They've removed all of the fall schedules from the site, except for football. But they haven't put the football schedule on the composite calendar. So it's also not updated with the revised schedule based on the ACC guidance from earlier this week. So not a lot going on with the scheduling information. I did look at last week. We should be talking about, or last year, the first weekend in August, we would be talking about exhibition games getting started up in 2 weeks' time, but not the case this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, like, if you go to, like, other sports, like I'm looking at volleyball, and it's got last year's schedule with the results on it. Wow, I didn't realize they did that.
They're gone.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I kind of did the same myself, though, over on the right-hand side of the site where I had the earlier spring things that were going on with volleyball and basketball. I think I also had softball in there. And I did keep those up for a pretty long time, but I just eventually decided to delete those off the website because it was pretty old news. And when we do get firm schedules in place for the fall sports that we anticipate and hope might happen, I'll put those back up on the website, guys. But as for now, it just depends on which way the wind blows, so to speak, in the future.
And I think honestly, even as we go in with actually get into some of these seasons and start seeing playing, I think even at that point they're not going to be firm.
If what we're seeing in the professional ranks is
Right.
any indicator of how the fall may go,
Yeah.
we've seen baseball kind of. We're going to play. Wait a second.
Opening weekend, closing weekend, possibly.
Not them though.
Yeah.
All you guys could play. Those guys don't play. Oh, you played those guys? You don't play either. Sorry.
It's like the old Sandlot days where you're standing out there. I picked Case. No, you can't have Case. We had him last week on our team. Well, can we have Jared? No, Jared can't play. His mom said he has to clean the bathroom. It's kind of like, so Toronto's going to play a double header today? You're kidding me. But it's interesting to kind of see how all that's going. The Wnba has been a pretty good example of players who have been able to get out there, those who have chosen to play. And so that's where we're going to kind of start today with our discussions. The Wnba, and primarily we'll take a look at those Cardinals women's basketball players that are in the NBA. Certainly been a great bit of activity in the WNBA this weekend. Hey, Case, what did Jazz Jones do last night?
She only put up 20, right?
Only.
She led the Liberty in, unfortunately, their fourth loss of the season in 4 games. They're really struggling without Asia Durr. Last night had to play without Sabrina Ionescu for the majority of the game after she turned her ankle. But Jazz Jones getting an increased opportunity as another guard since they are running short on them. And she made the most of her time. She played 21 minutes, had 20 points. Pretty efficient scoring. Only 1 rebound, which I thought was really interesting looking at the box score. We were used to seeing her a lot more active on the boards in college, but she is being asked to play a different role and against different caliber players in the WNBA, obviously. But good to see her get the opportunity and make the most of it, and hope to see her getting more chances and sticking a bit more in that rotation going forward.
Yeah, and this was, if you watch the game, you can probably make your own evaluations and opinions on it. If you didn't, I'll give you mine. This game started out horribly for the Liberty. They just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn to start out with, but they did roll back. Kylie Shook, another Cardinal who plays for New York, was huge for them in helping them get back into the game. Kylie strong on the boards, had some great inside moves, had some good defensive stops and rebounding. So tickled to see that. Found out in the broadcast that she had actually received a pep talk, guys, from Angel McCoughtry. How many times does that happen that you know of, where it would be like, somebody from UConn calling a Louisville women's basketball player and saying, hey, it's rough for you right now, but you'll play great against us, I'm sure. But Kylie responded well last night. Jazz, of course, was everywhere doing everything. Played great. Sabrina Ionescu, who most people think of these days when they think of the Liberty that aren't Cardinal related, unfortunately twisted an ankle, and watching the replays of that, boy, I'm surprised she didn't break that thing. But you've got a report on that case. What's going on with her?
Yeah, so it was really tough to find. Usually with professional athletes, when they're getting an MRI or an X-ray, you see that turned around really quickly. There were a lot of stories about Ionescu's injury last night, and not a lot of updates. So I guess they're just holding that close to the vest, or information just didn't come out. But the Athletic did report that her X-rays came back negative, so nothing broken. The coach said that he believes it's just a sprain, but doesn't know of the significance. When I watched the replay and saw her grasp in her Achilles tendon area, that's always concerning. Obviously, that's just kind of the first place you grab when your ankle in general hurts, but she went down like a sack of bricks and then put no weight on it. So it was definitely concerning to see. Hopefully she's able to get back out in a couple of weeks, since they're playing in this truncated schedule situation anyway. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them hold her out of an abundance of caution, just with the shorter season and them kind of already behind the 8 ball as far as record goes.
Yeah, and if I understand correctly, they did an X-ray which came back negative. But but haven't done an MRI yet. So like if it's an Achilles, that's probably not going to show up on an X-ray very well. I mean, they might be able to diagnose it, but the MRI would be the better way to diagnose that, is my understanding. I'm hardly a medical doctor here. So I would, if that's true, if what I'm hearing was true, I kind of looked into the story a little bit this morning, then it's possible she does still have a torn Achilles and they just haven't diagnosed it yet, if that's the case. Possibly.
Yeah, an X-ray would show you if it was ruptured, right? Because it's big enough you would be able to tell. But a small tear wouldn't be quite as noticeable, like you mentioned. And I saw conflicting reports about whether she got an MRI and an X-ray.
Right.
But I did only see results for an X-ray. I did look. There's not a lot of information about it. It was very strange. I'm used to being able to, with the first 2 hours, you think, oh, this person got an injury, and then the next morning you're seeing all of the updated stories that say the results of that. So weird to not see results.
Always a little odd when you think about HIPAA and how are they dealing with HIPAA? I mean, and ultimately there's the players will give releases for that information to be released usually, but if they don't, then that information can't be shared. So it's interesting.
For sure on that. And ankle injuries, I know I've been there. In case you've been there, I'm pretty sure Jared's been there in the past. Jeff, I would imagine you've had some ankle problems over your time. They have really, really ramped up the treatment and recovery options on these since I had one. Best case scenario, though, I'm thinking Ionescu probably doesn't play in the next couple games. Case is that you were the most recent of us, probably, to go through ankle and foot related problems. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it really just depends on the severity. Even a severe sprain, which is really a muscle tear of a small sort at some point at some area of the ankle. If that's high, she did turn it really bad. So if that's a high ankle sprain, could be even longer. Even when you feel like you're right, you try to cut at one point and it's just nagging for a while. It's just going to be interesting to see. Like I mentioned, they're already pretty behind, and the last thing you want to do is have your star rookie injure herself more when you don't really need to be in a situation where you're pushing her to get back on the court. They're not in a title chase. They're not in some situation where they absolutely need her to be playing. So I would be surprised if they rush her back. Obviously, from what we know about Ionescu's personality and her basketball passion, she's definitely going to want to be back as soon as she can. But I think now that she is in the professional ranks, she's no longer playing in college. It's up to the team's training staff and to her coaches and everyone around her to be making that decision. And it's not just the athletes to make when you're talking about a situation like this. So it'll be interesting to see how long they choose to hold her out, or if they are even really given a choice by the severity of the injury.
Right. And obviously different people heal differently, and in different time frames. So, there's some personal, age has a factor. She's pretty young, obviously, being a rookie. She's going to heal faster than I will on an ankle sprain like that, obviously. But yeah, there's personal variations on that as well.
So a term we've gotten used to over the summer of 2020, we'll just have to wait and see, as it refers to Sabrina Ionescu. But hey, Jazz Jones had a great night last night, but she wasn't the only other Cardinal that had a wonderful night last night. Angel McCoughtry, Las Vegas Aces, had a nice effort, albeit in a loss to the previously unwon Phoenix Mercury. Angel still had a great night for the Las Vegas Aces case, and she led them in scoring.
Yeah, the Aces are in a weird situation. They were in a really good. They looked like they were going to be a really good team, especially adding star power pretty much all over the floor through free agency and through the draft. The Mercury, that's who the Liberty are going to play tomorrow. They haven't looked particularly impressive, but it was a high-scoring game. I believe the final score was 102-95. So Both teams were really out getting after it. And like you mentioned, a good game from Angel. So it'd be interesting to see how this WNBA season is going to play out. Everybody's kind of playing. I don't know. It's all kind of a blur. You're used to a fast season in the WNBA as it is, and this it feels even more compact. And with some players sitting out, it's a lot of younger players playing, generally speaking. So a lot of names that college basketball fans are familiar with, as well as some of the WNBA stars.
One of the things that I wonder about in the league is that, with, as you mentioned, some players opting not to play, the injuries and other things that have happened so early in this season, there are some rosters that are starting to look pretty light out there. How does the WNBA, is my question, go in to get players to make rosters back to full capabilities again? Certainly, we've had some Cardinals in the past who played WNBA. Is there a chance that they could be called back into the realm? Does anybody know what's going to happen if your roster gets down to like 8 players, guys?
I'm not sure. I do know one of the aspects of this that's unique this year is because they're playing in what they call the Wubble, right? Is you can't just call the player up and have them show up on the floor the next day, right? They've got the quarantine procedures that they go through to try to be careful of that. That's going to complicate things. I heard about, I don't remember who they were. I wish I could remember who. I think a couple of players that got waived by a team, but are staying in the Wubble because there's a decent chance they're going to get picked up by another team. And if they stay in there, then they'll be able to play immediately. But if they're coming in from outside, there's all the procedures that they have to go through to make sure that it's not disrupting the quarantine effects there. So it's a complicated situation this year in every way because of it.
We'll have to, once again, to use the term, wait and see. And hopefully some of the Cardinals of past years who have made some WNBA inroads, players like Erica Carter, Asia Taylor, who knows, maybe they'll even find Shoni Schimmel and say, hey, if you still got the shot, come into the Wubble and sit for a while and we'll find a roster for you. We'll kind of see how all that turns out. But we've mentioned 2 Cardinals who played very well this week, but we haven't mentioned a third one, and that's Myisha Hines-Allen on the only undefeated team in the WNBA right now, the Washington Mystics. Myisha's been pretty special this year, hasn't she, guys? And maybe surprising to some. I kind of knew she had it in her, but never really had the opportunity with the talent in front of her. With that talent not there, Myisha's come to play and put up some big results, right?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I was reading up on some of that on the Washington Mystics and how they're playing, and of course they've got a bunch of their. I think they've lost 4 of their starters from last year's championship team. You got Elena Delle Donne's out. Tina Charles was a transfer, is expected to make a big impact. She's not playing. You've got some significant players not playing that they were expecting, and everybody was going, "Oh, okay, so the Mystics aren't going to be all that great this year." They're out there tearing it up, and Myisha out there being in the lead of that out in front on it. People are talking about how are they doing it. They're playing up tempo. They're shooting threes, which Myisha Hines-Allen has developed a 3-point shooting capability, which was never something that she was known for when she was here at Louisville. She's put in work. She's continued to develop her game over the couple of years she's been involved in that. So, this is her time to shine. She's got the opportunity. She was behind some of these bigs that were, kind of dominating the game, and she's stepping up and taking advantage of it. It's great. Yeah. Shooting well, moving the ball to crossover that just got everybody's tongues wagging the other day. I think it was Wnba Bonner just kind of on skates. She's doing great. She's really developed her game a lot since her time at Louisville.
No doubt about that, Jeff. And we used to kind of tease her in her senior year at Louisville that she was a guard trapped in a power forward's body, but she's had some incredible time and playmaking that's happened out as a guard. Has that surprised anybody at all?
Well, I think whenever she was transitioning from Louisville to the WNBA, there were concerns about being undersized at the position she was playing and her game not quite being versatile enough to make the transition to the different position. And unfortunately, in her rookie season, we saw she was struggling to get on the floor. When she was on the floor, she was struggling to make an impact, and there were concerns about whether she was even going to stick with the team. But like Jeff mentioned, she has transformed her game pretty much, really fitting into the role that she needs to be playing. The tenacity from playing underneath the basket, I think, has really helped her playing anywhere on the court. We saw Coach Walls retweeted a defense to offense transition that the Mystics pulled off because Maisha Hines-Allen was just absolutely hounding at the midcourt line. So she's definitely using her mindset from college and the skill set that she's developed in the WNBA to really become an even better all-around player than she was at UofL.
Certainly one that has had to wait for her turn, but never gave up on the training and the conditioning. The Mystics coach, which is probably very easy to say right now, given what she's doing, saying, "Oh, I always knew she had it in her. We just didn't have a spot for her, and now that she's got a spot, she's beginning to shine." Well, okay, that's fine. That's like, talking about a horse race 5 minutes after a run. Okay, Hines-Allen's put in the work and done quite well, so we're happy about that for her. Some things going on with the NCAA, particularly the ACC, where Wednesday some information was released to us about the way that the ACC is looking at the fall sports potential scheduling and such. Some interesting things that have developed in this case. Your thoughts on what the ACC has kind of talked about? This could happen. This could not happen.
Well, so it started earlier. I think it was the NCAA's decision that fall sports would be able to play fewer games and it still count for a full season. They changed the number of game requirements, minimum game requirements to be played in a season, something like that. And that kind of set the tone for what conferences were going to start announcing. And there were a number of board of directors meetings scheduled this week. The ACC had theirs, SEC, I think Big Ten had one. There are more scheduled in the coming weeks, including from the NCAA themselves. But I think that was really setting the tone for what was going to happen. And then it did happen in the ACC meeting. They announced that no sports were going to start until September 11th. Canned any competitions that were scheduled for before that. It included 2 football games for UofL. I think at least 1 football game, maybe 2 for most of the other teams. And that, like we mentioned earlier when talking about scheduling, that impacts all of the Olympic sports, all of the Olympic fall sports that usually start in mid-August. Football doesn't start until late August or the beginning of September anyway, but that's 2 more weeks of Olympic sport competitions that are just off the table. So they're not going to be able to likely fit in those games. We saw the ACC announcement that they're going to go to a 10+1 schedule for football. No real indication of what that means for the other sports, but you can kind of extrapolate and say, okay, they want to keep this to a conference situation, that they'll probably push forward additional guidance that's similar about playing conference games and trying to keep any non-conference games limited to your region or games that are played in the home state, which is the rule for football. For women's soccer, that really wouldn't hurt that much. Most of their non-conference games are at home anyway or in the region. But just the timing, playing 3 games a week, which is what they would kind of need to get anything similar to a normal schedule with the first half of the season kind of already in danger, that's just a lot of games to play. I mean, when I was in high school, you play 3 games a week, and that's with as many subs as you want, and it can still be pretty taxing. So as you go up in the levels, trying to play more games without that real recovery time is just not valuable to the athletes.
One of those things that, of course, is still maybe a work in progress as we kind of see which way our nation turns as far as things go. Got Jared's weighing in here with some things via his chat mode right now. He says there's a lot of unhappy student athletes at UofL, especially in field hockey. None of them want to play a 6 to 10 game schedule because it feels like they've been cheated of a true season. Multiple UofL players have verbally expressed concerns either to him or on social media. For field hockey, it's only ACC and the MAC playing the season that are allowing outside conference opponents. And yeah, field hockey, yeah, they're going to take a hit on this if things go according to plan. Normally, where a field hockey schedule in past years, guys, we've seen Louisville play anywhere from 16 to 18 games. Now getting that cut by maybe possibly 2/3 before playoffs. It's a tricky card game here right now, isn't it, fellas?
It is. It's frustrating, I know, to some of these players because obviously they're looking at what happened to winter sports that were starting in 2020 or nearly ran that got their seasons cut short, got championships cut short, but then weren't granted relief by the NCAA to play the next to play another season. So I can see where they would feel like, wait a minute, this is just some unfairness going on here, that you're gonna give us this truncated minimalistic season, but then ding us for having a season that wasn't really a full-on season to play. I would be annoyed at that as well.
Yeah, I think that's the viewpoint a lot of people are seeing it from, and it's the one that makes the most sense. Is the spring seasons that did start their spring sports that did start their seasons, but were granted relief, was because, well, they didn't get to play a full season. The NCAA and all the conferences are setting this up like, well, your full season is now only 6 games. You got to play your 6 games. You don't get relief. That was your senior year, and that's kind of, that's crap.
It is for the player standpoint for sure. A fact that they obviously want to get out there and play as much as possible in normal times. Right now, though, with the COVID-19 out there, we can't really basically guarantee them anything right now. So I know that they'll be excited to get out there, but the lack or the fewer number of contests for them guys, you kind of hate to see, because we've seen it in past years. A player may start a season not so good, but really developed the longer they've been out there, and by the end of the year, they're really, really rolling. You've seen it in volleyball, Jeff. You and I have seen it in soccer case. Boy, that looks like that may not be a possibility this year, fellas. Looks like it indeed.
Yeah, I think one of the tough things for soccer in particular is they really, and not just UofL, but all ACC teams, because ACC is pretty good at women's soccer, they lean on those early non-conference games to really hit a stride, because you don't want to just go into your season just clobbering straight up with really good teams. You'd like something to try and get you in season shape beforehand, and if they're just going to start with conference games right off the bat, that's going to be tough for a lot of players and a lot of teams.
I mean, it's even and fair because everybody's facing that, but it's also, you're going to see some sloppy play in some of those early games. You always see sloppy play at the beginning of the season with non-conference games, and those non-conference games are a chance to kind of tighten that up and clean that up, and so now you're going to see that in the conference, where you have the extra weight on it with conference records to potentially determining some postseason possibilities. So yeah, it's a challenging situation to be in for sure.
A lot more pressure early seems to be the ongoing thought here. And Jared brings up another good point here via text. His question is, what happens if a team has players test positive and you can't play your next scheduled game?
Yeah.
Let's say 5 field hockey players, God forbid, come down with the virus. Do you cancel it and then go to a 5-game schedule, or do you try to reschedule it? That's certainly a very valid question, and certainly one that could be very, very possible down the road. What are your fellas' thoughts on that?
And how do you handle that? Is it just a canceled game that doesn't count for or against, or is it a forfeit, right? Which would be counting against it. And at that point, you're looking at that short of a season. Can you even really rationally claim, oh, this person is a champion of the league when, they may have only played, 3 or 4 games potentially even. In field hockey, ACC field hockey, for example, and 7 teams in the league, 8 teams in the league, something like that.
7, yeah.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't even get to play all the teams once, and that's a fairly small conference league, a very good one, but a fairly small one, and it becomes, does it really make sense to claim a
Yeah, a
conference
regular season
championship?
title if you only
Yeah,
play 3 games. Let's say
yeah,
North Carolina, always very, very good in field hockey.
right.
Yeah, I think they've been national champions so many times in the sport. What if they only get 3 games in
Yeah,
due to COVID relations, and then all of a sudden, hey, do they get that number 1 seed because they were 3-0, and maybe the other teams were 7-1 or 6-1 or something like that? And then where do you rank them after only 3 games? There's an infinite number of parameters that could go into this, and that's all, of course, headlined by even if any of it takes place, right?
Yeah, and I think this goes a bit off topic of Jared's question, which I do want to circle back to. But when you are talking about all of these conferences making rules where you're only being able to play conference games or a limited number of non-conference games, and your season's going to be shorter, that's all designed with football in mind, right? You're only going to play 1 major non-conference game at the end of the year, maybe 2 if you make the playoffs. That's not the case for all the Olympic sports, that their whole goal is to get to a 64-team NCAA tournament where players and teams from all over the country are trying to play each other, obviously not conference games. So what are you working towards is the question. Is the NCAA going to come out and say, yeah, we're not having NCAA championships? Maybe you're not having NCAA championships. Why are we even playing the regular season? Like, let's be real.
It's a very good point. And certainly getting back to the COVID question, okay, let's say I haven't seen the field hockey schedule, but let's say that Louisville has to go to Duke and play a game. That means either an airport with a flight change or a 10-hour bus ride up and back. I mean, come on, guys. We're talking about putting those people in a confined space on a bus for 20 hours. A lot of questions here. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and what I wanted to wrap back was you're looking at Major League Baseball, who's not playing a bubble season, unlike some of the other major league sports. You're looking at them trying to make this work, and you've already seen that it's not really.
Right.
A team has an outbreak, and now that team can't play its games. Well, the team that it just played also is at risk, so that team can't play its games. So that's 4 teams, because those teams were scheduled to play other teams, that are now screwed up. It's a fantasy baseball app makes for a really funny, like not like ha funny, but like dark funny of like looking at it, because it's like, well, the New York Yankees game against the Phillies is postponed, but they've got this game against Baltimore. But oh wait, sorry, that one got postponed. So the Yankees have 2 games that are on the schedule that are both postponed against different teams. And the app can't even figure it out, trust me, because I had players that weren't getting stats counted in a game I know they were playing in, because the app said, oh, their game is postponed. Well, that's not the one they're playing in. But it seemed like it was limited at first to that Marlins outbreak, right? You could track it all, the Marlins with the Phillies, and then the Phillies screwed up the things with the Yankees and the Orioles. But now that's skipped divisions. The Cardinals are now in a situation where they're having an additional outbreak. It had nothing to do with any of the teams in the East, and that's now impacting their schedule. The commissioner of baseball already said if things don't get on track, they're going to have to can the season. And you can think what you want about how he directed that when he's the one making decisions, but that is what it is. But that's what Jared's point is. If MLB, who are trying to play 60 games in 65 days, are already talking about having to play 7-inning doubleheaders because they've had to postpone and reschedule so many games, how do you make that work on the college scale?
That's a very valid point. And while they debate all these things and wonder the rest of our dear world looks at America and shakes their head in disbelief at they are not doing the things that we've done to basically shut down and slow down our virus. The Americans are going full speed forward with, of course, precautions in place, but we are the ridicule of a lot of other nations in this great earth of ours, folks. Things that are going on. But the ACC, you got to love it. If you love the ACC, today is your day because it is the ACC takeover on the ACC network for Louisville. That's right. Louisville takes over the ACC network today. I believe this started, like at 10 o'clock this morning, guys? Or maybe it starts at noon?
Starts at 10, yep.
And if you got that there, just kind of run down for us what Cardinal fans can see today. I don't
have it in front of me. Let me pull it up.
I've got it here.
Okay, yeah.
Currently you're catching, if you turned it on right now, you'd be catching the end of the Georgetown-Louisville men's soccer game with a great game on deck, Louisville versus Indiana in baseball. That one's starting at noon. The thriller walk-off win for Louisville over Florida State is at 3 o'clock, 3 to 5. Women's basketball, one of those great games from 2018 against Notre Dame at 5 o'clock. Men's basketball 2009 versus Pitt. I think it's hilarious that they've selected two teams that are currently in the NCAA, currently in the ACC, neither of which were in the ACC at the time, to play that game. A great game, right? I mean, it's a thrilling game to put on there, great one to pick, but that's just funny. And then Louisville versus Mississippi State for football as the 9 p.m. last game of the day. Is the one that they've got there. So it's a fun breakdown. If you're just looking to stick for the women's sports, only two of them, but two great games from 3 to 7. You can camp yourself in front of the TV and watch a couple of great wins over Notre Dame and Florida State. Yeah,
I watched that UofL Notre Dame game just a couple of weeks ago. It's available elsewhere, but
on the internet in some places.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was a fun game. Just to go back and watch that, I'm gonna probably try and watch it again today. And I didn't get to see that softball game against Florida State, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
That was a fun one.
Yeah.
One of my fondest memories of softball ever since I've been out there doing it on coverage was just actually being up there in the press box for that thing and.
I don't know why I couldn't be there for that one, but it was. I didn't
I'm
make
trying to
it
remember. Maybe you had I don't know if you had another conflict or not.
You might have been traveling. It was the Monday night game when there was a scheduled Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they shifted it to Saturday, Sunday, Monday for weather. And that was the Monday night game of that one. It was on ESPN at 9 o'clock.
I don't think I saw any of the series. If I remember correctly. So yeah, it was crazy.
Rebecca Chung's name will live long for her huge blow in that game. And a player who could do some noise this year for the Cards this spring, if spring sports do in fact go to schedule. Certainly Celine Funky so subdued during that game too. I don't know what was wrong with her. That was such a fun one to watch, and I've never seen a press box explode at the Ulmer Stadium, Dan Dabena Field after Chung's hit and the subsequent run scoring, and the dejection of a Florida State team walking off the field, realizing that, that just happened to us.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff, guys. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So certainly catch the ACC Network Extra today. Had some of those things going on. We've also had some news concerning volleyball. Not that it's news that I understand fully, and I'm not sure my cohorts do either. But backyard choose about volleyball is going to happen here, guys.
Yeah,
Talk
so
about that.
We don't have full details on this, but we have a sense of what it's going to be like. We have the first ever professional volleyball league in the U.S. is starting up. It's an organization called Athletes Unlimited. They are working in conjunction with USA Volleyball on this. They have pulled together a bunch of pro volleyball players, and they're going to have a pro league. Now, It's a little different.
That's one way to put it.
Right. So they've been doing
You
this
guys
for.
ever played a backyard sports game on the
Yeah,
computer when you were younger?
it's a little bizarre. So they've
This is
been doing.
like cornhole, okay? Come on,
Yeah,
right?
they've been doing a softball version of this for a few years now, a pro softball league this way. And here's the thing: is the players actually accumulate individual points as opposed to necessarily team points, although there are team points assigned as well. And they redraft every week, which is weird. Um,
You're in a Baxter Jacks league, and instead of being on a team with your friends, you just showed up every week, and then some random person said you were on their team that week.
Yeah, picked up teams. Yeah, so what they do, so they don't have all the scoring details for how they're going to do it with volleyball up, but they have the softball version up on their website, and so that gives us a sense of how it does it. Being on a team that is winning gets you points. You get 50 points for a game win. You get 10 points for each inning that you are winning as a team. Individually, the MVP selections for, I think after each game they will vote for MVP selections. 3 players from the game. They get 60 points for being the top one, 40 points for being the second one, 20 points for being the third one. And then individual statistics. So, like, if you get a single, you get 10 points. You get a triple, you get 30 points. Home runs, 40 points. Stolen base is 10 points. If you get caught stealing, it's negative 10 points. You get 10 points for a walk. Pitchers get 4 points for every out that they're pitching, and minus 10 points for every earned run allowed. And then at the end of each week of games, they look at the top 4 point totals for among players, and those 4 players are the captains of the 4 team for the next week, and repick teams based on those 4 captains started. So this is different. Like I said, it's a little bizarre. It's not a traditional volleyball league with set teams that have records over the season that you're following. It's the idea is you're cheering for individual players and how they do and following them and less about the team. So it's interesting. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of it, but hey, I'll watch volleyball. It's going to be held.
My question was going to be: are you going to go?
Yeah,
since it's in Nashville.
Right, I know it's in Nashville, so it's not that far away. So obviously, heavily depending on what happens with COVID-19 and all of that, because it starts in February. If things are settled a little more, yeah, I might make the drive down there for that. This is a news item for us here as a UofL sports, women's sports organization, advocacy organization, we'll say. I don't know. Because Erin Fairs is one of the players that's going to be playing in this year. She announced that it's all official. I think I kind of knew that she was going to do it, but I think it's all, again, kind of all the I's dotted and T's crossed, contract signed, all of that. So she'll be playing on that. So
and not just a member, right? She's one of the founding members, which, according to the site, she gets to be one of the people who helps recruit other players. She works on the rules, and she gets equity in the league.
Possibly. I didn't catch all of that in the announcement, but it's possible.
Yeah, I only say that because there's 4 members of the 4 players currently listed on the site, and then they've got this note in here about the founding members. So it's a little unclear, but
I don't know.
It'd be interesting if she gets to be a part of that major part and not just a player in the organization.
Yeah, you can go to the site and you can see all the different players that are signed up, and there's quite a fair number of them, and a lot of really good ones. Taylor Cook is an outside hitter. Erin Fairs, outside hitter. Jordan Larson, who's a phenomenal player, has played with the U.S. national team quite a bit.
Deja McClendon.
Deja McClendon's in. I haven't gotten down that far yet. Deja McClendon played at Penn State. Older sister to Myra McClendon, who played at UofL for a couple of years. Molly McCage is a great player. Just trying to remember. Paige Tapp is a great player. All these players are signed up for this and on the site already, and I presume probably some more coming in here because it's not quite enough to make 4 teams yet on that list.
Only got 1 libero.
Yeah. I thought I saw more than that in
Oh,
there.
2. Sorry.
gonna
Tiffany
say-
Clark. She's at the very top.
Yeah, 2 of them. Tiffany Clark and Kristen Tupac. I'm not familiar with either of those. So. But yeah, but it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun. It'll be up paced, and I'm sure it'll be a fun atmosphere there if they're able to have fans for it. So, I may try and get down and see some of it because I haven't gotten to see much volleyball. So.
Let's see what develops with that. I guess my first question is, guys, you've got the WNBA playing in the Wubble. Since this is going to be in Nashville and then primarily concerned around, I would think Vanderbilt University would have a lot to do with this. Shall we call the facility where they play the Wubble? And it's volleyball with a V?
It could be.
The Wubble.
The Wubble.
Or maybe they'll go to Opryland. Never know.
Be the Wobble?
Yeah.
A Wobble? I don't know.
I don't know. Just make sure you don't hit the net when you jump. That's what I can tell you, girls. Fun things, and hopefully we'll have more on it as the show develops as we go on with it. One other quick item to mention, and then we'll get you into our quiz today. Softball is making news once again with another signee transfer. Holly April been busy bringing in players as she's brought in Michaela Hurst, who played for Utah out there with the Utes combination. First baseman and an outfielder, and this is going to be a huge get for the Cards because she can hit for some power, guys.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about her. The name is familiar. Utah's had some pretty good teams, so it'd be interesting to see. 286 batting average with the Utes, which is good, but apparently hits for power a lot, so you tend to see a little lower averages, but high risk, high reward type of batting there. So that'll be interesting.
One of the preliminary looks at Louisville softball for the spring is that there was kind of a first base question and dilemma there, and she might be the answer for that. We'll just have to wait and see if and when that comes down the pike for us.
Yeah. Out of St. Louis is her home, so
there you go.
A little bit closer to home for her, maybe.
Definitely a little less of a hike than having to go to Utah for her. All right. With all of these things being discussed, it's time for us to progress into our weekly quiz, a quiz that Jeff won by default last week.
This is the only participant?
You didn't even take part in it.
Won by forfeit.
I asked him one simple question. I said, Jeff, can you hear me? He said, yes. I said, you win the quiz. So, we'll just call this a play-in game for Jared, who has left us. He's getting busy at the bank, so he had to sign off of us. But certainly a stern competition here ahead for you guys. We've been talking a lot about the NBA. We've been talking a lot about Cardinals and the WNBA. So what could be a better quiz than a quiz entitled Cardinals in the WNBA? That is your subject for today's quiz, fellas.
All right.
You're playing for the first time, listening for the first time. We award 10 points for a correct answer. There is a bonus option at the end of the quiz. You can take the bonus or not take the bonus. If you take the bonus and get it right, you get 20 points. If you miss the bonus, you lose 20 points. And you have the option to decide not to take the bonus, although, boy, it's been a long time since anybody's decided that. But, gentlemen, Cards in the WNBA. Are you ready?
No, but let's go.
Ready as ever, I guess.
There you go. That team spirit. There we go, fellas. Make sure to high five the crowd on your way to the microphone. Yeah. Question number 1 for you. How many WNBA squads has Asia Taylor played for? We all remember Asia Taylor, good old A-Tay. Number 31. How many WNBA squads had she played for? A, 3, B, 4, C, 5, or D, 6? How many squads for Asia Taylor? Case will let you start out the first half of the quiz. Your answer, sir?
I think it's just 3. A.
He's going to go with A, 3?
Yeah, that's where I was going as well. I'm not sure, but it might be 4, but I think it's 3.
The fellas are going to say a total of 3 on this, but the fellas unfortunately are incorrect. It's a total of 5 squads. I know it's hard to believe, but she started her career in Minnesota, played briefly for UConn, spent some time playing for Washington, was Indiana, and then also played for Phoenix briefly. 5 teams for Asia Taylor there. So
dang, I didn't know there'd been that many.
Yeah, it's just imagine her closet and her jersey selection. What do I wear today, Phoenix or Minnesota? So hopefully you did better in home than the two knuckleheads here picking the quiz.
Connecticut Sun, not UConn.
I would have loved to seen Asia Taylor play for UConn. Or Gino Mountain of Court, my gosh. Connecticut Sun is correct, Jeff.
Yeah.
I can't give you any bonus points for that, though. Question number 2. Kylie Schick. Kylie Schick plays for the New York Liberty. She averaged in double figures in college, though. How many times in her 4 years in college? How many double figure scoring seasons did she have? Was it 1, 2, 3, or 4? Kylie Schick, UofL. How many years did she average double figures in scoring case?
I don't think it could be more than 2. So that's what I'm going to go with is 2.
He chooses 2. Jeff, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think she averaged double-digit scoring her junior year. I think she was close, but I don't think she was quite yet there, so I'm going to say 1.
Jeff goes with 1, and Jeff is correct on this. It was 1 year, her senior year, where she averaged 10.1 points a game, just barely sneaking in there to get that honor.
I was right. Couldn't be more than 2.
No, I was with you on that logic.
If any of you guys had picked 4, I would have disconnected you immediately from the broadcast. We go to question number 3 here. Which Cardinal great is currently 4th in the league in scoring this year in the WNBA? In 4th place in scoring. Is it A, Angel McCoughtry, B, Jasmine Jones, C, Kylie Schick, or D, Maisha Hines-Allen? Which one is 4th in the league in scoring? Case, you've got McCoughtry, Jones, Schick, or Hines-Allen in front of you. Who do you pick?
I think it's got to be MHA.
Gonna go with the MHA, the D, Jeff. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I know after last week's game she was 2nd, but then she had a game where she didn't score as much. So I'm trying to think what Angel did, because Angel was 3rd after last week's games. I think she dropped off a little more, so I think it's Hines-Allen. Yeah.
The guys are going with D, Maisha Hines-Allen, and the guys are correct. It is Maisha Hines-Allen, averaging 19 points a game so far for the undefeated Washington Mystics. Okay. Question number 4 for you. The Cardinals do not have a player on this team's roster. I'm going to give you 4 teams. Tell me which one of these rosters does not have a Louisville Cardinal on its team. A, the New York Liberty, B, the Seattle Storm, C, the Las Vegas Aces, or D, the Washington Mystics. Case, which roster doesn't have a Cardinal on it?
Storm.
He was quick with that answer. Storm. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, they do have one of my celebrity crushes, Sue Bird, on them with Seattle Storm. Sue Storm. Fantastic Four. Sorry. Yeah, Seattle Storm.
Both the guys picked B,
Sue
the
Bird,
Storm.
yeah.
Both the guys are correct. Sue Bird. Never had a chance of being a Cardinal, probably.
No. Her time at UConn was pretty productive as well.
Great commercial if you all have seen it on TV where she turns around and she goes, "Look, I've got banana bread. What? Except we're at bananas, so I've got bread." He kind of looks at the camera like, Sue Bird. We love her. 4 questions down. We have a 1-point lead for Jeff right now against Cases. We're going to question number 5. Cases will be your last time to go first in the regular part of the quiz.
Got it.
Question number 5. Erica Carter played with which WNBA squad in 2019? We'd all love Erica Carter. Who did she play for, though, last year? Was it A, the Minnesota Lynx, B, the Atlanta Dream, C, the LA Sparks, or D, the Phoenix Mercury? Who did AC play for last year, Case?
That was the Mercury.
He's saying Phoenix. Jeff, are you thinking Phoenix?
Yep, she was out in Pahonix.
As he goes Phoenix, they both go with D, and they are both correct. Erica playing for the Phoenix Mercury last year for them. Diana Taurasi, one of the main reasons for that, who said that last year, giving Erica a chance to get out there and play pretty decently for them. I'm surprised she's not in the bubble while waiting a chance to play, perhaps. All right, we're halfway through the quiz. Jeff holds on to a slim 10-point lead as we go to question number 6. You'll go first for the next 5 questions, Jeff. Which WNBA squad leads the league in points scored so far? 12 teams playing right now. Which one leads the league in points scored? Is it A, the Dallas Wings, B, the Las Vegas Aces, C, the Washington Mystics, or D, the Chicago Sky? Which one of these 4 teams, Jeff, leads the league in scoring?
Wow. Las Vegas.
Wings, Aces, Mystics, or Sky?
Yeah, Las Vegas has had some high-scoring games, but Chicago did as well, I think. But I think they've also had some off games. So I'm going to go with the Mystics. They've had a really up-tempo offense.
Jeff, thinking Maisha Hansel and team, the Mystics are that team. Case, your thoughts?
I haven't been keeping up with scores, so this is kind of just a shot in the dark. You know, they are undefeated, but like Jeff mentioned, the Aces have had some really high-scoring games. I think I'm going to go that route. I think I'm going to go with the Aces.
Case goes with B, the Aces. The correct answer is, though, C, the Washington Mystics. 94.7 points a game, which is slightly better than what Chicago and Las Vegas have been doing, who are in second and third. So, there
right,
we go.
with a lot of my logic. Okay, all right.
Look at you.
Look at Jeff here, yeah.
That's all the 3 correct.
Question number 7. How many of Jeff Wall's Louisville players have been drafted in the WNBA? How many players that Jeff Walls coached at Louisville got drafted in the WNBA? Your choices are A, 11, B, 13, C, 15, or D, 16. Jeff,
Oh, dear.
11, 13, 15, or 16. How many Walls players have been drafted?
Just quickly off the top of my head came up with 8, but I know I'm missing a bunch in there because I didn't include like Candace Bingham Wheeler. I'm just what are the options again? Starting with
11, 13, 15, or 16.
This is a bit of a guess. I'm gonna say 13.
Jeff says 13 on his answer. Case, is he high or low?
Well, this is an absolute guess for me. Yeah, I just feel like some of these higher numbers are just to throw us off the scent with some players that weren't under Jeff Walls. I'm going to go with just 11, even though I can count like 5 in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
Case is going to pick 11. Jeff goes 13. Case is correct. There is 11.
Okay.
Let's name them off for our listeners.
Jeez.
Of course, Jasmine Jones, Kylie Shook, Asia Doer, Sam Furing, Erica Carter, Candace Bingham, Shoni Shibble, Angel McCautry, Asia Taylor, Nita Slaughter. Remember Nita Slaughter?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Maisha Hines Allen. 11 players under Jeff Walls' tutelage have made it to the big dance.
So you're like, did you list Angel McCautry in there?
Oh, yes. Angel was right after Shoni.
Okay.
And was before Asia Taylor.
Sorry, lost track of them all, yeah, as you were saying them.
Certainly. Angel McCautry played in the WNBA and still playing there, Jeff. You're correct.
Yeah, I wasn't sure you were counting her as Jeff Walls, since he was only here for 2 years of her career, but yeah.
If Walls yelled at her in his time, I'm going to consider that she played there.
Cool.
Although a lot of people said back in those days, Asia kind of played for herself, and Jeff was kind of there just to yell at her about things he might want her to consider to him.
Yeah.
If Case cuts the margin a little bit here, so we're going to question number 8. Who leads the WNBA with points in the paint per game so far in this young season? Who leads the WNBA with points in the paint per game? Is it A, Alicia Thomas, B, Brittany Griner, C, Maisha Hines-Allen, or D, Asia Wilson? Which one of these four players is leading the points in paint per game? Thomas, Griner, Hines-Allen, or Wilson?
I kind of think she's had some outside shooting, so it may not be, but I kind of think Hines-Allen is a pretty good candidate for that. Pretty likely.
He's thinking it's Maisha Hines-Allen. Case is this guy right here.
Yeah, I only know 3 out of the 4 names, and I'm not even 100% certain that Brittany Griner is playing in the bubble. Goodness
gracious.
gracious.
I don't know.
I'm going to go...
I don't think she is.
I'm going to go with Asia Wilson.
He's going to take Asia Wilson for his answer. Jeff goes to Maisha Hines-Allen. Who's correct? The answer is C, Maisha Hines-Allen. That's right. She has 12.7 points per game so far in the paint. That's pretty decent out of 19 points a game.
It's not giving Maisha and the Mystics enough credit.
Well, they're playing pretty good right now, guy. And Brittany Griner is playing, and she is on the Phoenix roster. Roster.
Yeah, she is. 16.3 points per game average right now. Not as high as I would have expected from her.
You would have thought more than another player you would have thought more out of is Tara McCowan's not doing anything, and very little at all right now.
Yeah.
We're going to question number 9. Jeff's patted that lead back out there so far. He's sitting pretty with only 2 wrong answers. Case has got 4 wrong answers through 8 questions. Question number 9. She scored over 1,000 points in her WNBA career. Over 1,000 points in her WNBA career. Of who do I speak? Michelle Clark-Heard, Shoni Schimmel, Jill Morton, or Adrian Johnson? Which one of these 4 scored over 1,000 points in their NBA career? Michelle Clark-Heard, Shoni Schimmel, Jill Morton, or Adrian Johnson?
Yeah,
Jeff.
It's not Shoni. She didn't play long enough. Michelle Clark-Heard, maybe. I don't think Jill Morton did. I'm gonna go with AJ.
Gonna take Adrian Johnson for his answer. Case, is he on base or off base?
I'm gonna go with the player that is has a mural or a portrait, something, a banner on the outside of Butler High School's gym. Adrian Johnson.
Yeah.
He likes AJ too. Both of these guys go D, and they are both correct. It was Adrian Johnson who scored 1,018 points in 8 years in the WNBA. So, congratulations to AJ. When she does color commentary on a game, yes, you may know what she's talking about. That's very, very possible.
It's got a little basis for that, yeah.
Little basis indeed. We're going to the final question of the regular round, Jeff, holding a very comfortable 2-point lead. Question number 10. Who was the highest UofL women's basketball draftee in the NBA picks? Who has been the highest Louisville women's basketball draft pick? Was it A, Shoni Schimmel, B, Asia Dewar, C, Angel McCoughtry, or D, Asia Taylor? Which one of these 4 was the highest draft pick for their year in the NBA, WNBA?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Angel.
Jeff thinks it's Angel McCoughtry.
Yeah.
Okay, so these other appeal?
No, I'm pretty sure Angel was number 1 overall. So
going
with her as well.
Yep. Top pick.
Case nails it. Angel McCoughtry back in 2009 was the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. Asia Dewar, of course, was the 2nd pick per year. Shoni Schimmel was I think the 6th or 7th pick, and Asia Taylor was 36th.
Almost last,
Yeah. Angel McCoughtry, that answer, and still, of course,
playing poker face because I knew Angel was number 1. I was like, no, wait. I'm answering first.
All right, so we go into the bonus round. Jeff so far has done quite well. He's at 80. Case has a chance logistically here to win this thing or tie this thing. Bonus question, Jeff, are you going to take it?
Oh yeah, always.
Case, you going to let him fail on his own, or are you going to try it as well?
No, yeah, I'm not going for a tie. We're going for wins.
Case is going for the win, his best case scenario. I'm sorry about that term there.
Okay,
You
had to
used
do
it a
it.
lot today, so
Had to be done.
Jeff gets it wrong and Case gets it right. He could still win this thing, yo. Your bonus question is, Shoni Schimmel played for how many WNBA teams? How many teams did Shoni play for when she was in the league?
Play for or rostered on?
Played for. How
Okay.
many teams did she play for? WNBA teams. Is it A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, or D, 4? Shoni Schimmel.
am I going first on this one?
Yeah, you've
Okay.
got to lead.
Okay, yeah. Makes sense. It's that I was kind of wondering the same thing, Case, because I'm not sure she played for. Yeah. I'm gonna say 1 because I don't think she ever made it on the court for the second one.
Jeff's taken 1 as an answer.
Yeah.
Case, your thoughts on this?
Yeah. I know I'm almost positive she was rostered on 1 more than she played for, but I don't know if that was 1 or 2 before. But I'm going to have to go against Jeff, so I'm going to go with 2.
There.
He muted.
Sorry
We're in
about
suspense.
that. Sorry about that. I wanted to add to the suspense. I gave the answer, but he was on mute, so we'll have to wait till next week to find out. The actual answer, though, fellas, is 3. Both of you got the question
Wow.
wrong.
Really?
Shoni played, of course, for Atlanta for the majority of her career.
Right.
She also played briefly for the New York Liberty and was also signed at Las Vegas and played a couple of games for the
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
She
Indeed,
did play
she
for
did.
us.
Yeah.
See?
Okay.
That was the one that I thought. Yeah.
So Jeff
Yeah, played
takes
2
the
games.
title here as well, he won it fair and square. He gets the one-eared toothpick holding bear. Good job, sir.
All right. Thank you. Finally get a win. Outright win. Woo!
Put one in the W column.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you could have beat Jared today.
I might have. Yeah.
That was tough. That was a really tough quiz.
Yeah, and I got some lucky guesses in there as well. Yeah.
Sometimes it's the luck that you get that helps you through the quiz for sure. All right, fellas, let's kind of roll into some final thoughts here on this broadcast. I'll go ahead and start it out while you guys kind of acquire your final thoughts. I'd like to wish a happy birthday to no other than Dana Evans.
Absolutely.
Dana Evans' birthday is today, and certainly a player who's going to figure very, very heavily into Jeff Wall's plans for the upcoming women's basketball season.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Dana. If I could, I'd sing you some Jackson 5 right now, but my voice doesn't quite carry that. Sorry about that. Jeff, final thoughts, sir.
Yeah, update to the ACC Network takeover for UofL today. They are inserting the UofL volleyball match at Notre Dame at 6:30. Trigger warning on this one. This is the one that Melanie McHenry goes down with ACL tear. So if you don't want to watch that.
Great match, though.
It was a very, very good match. Yeah. It was exciting, fun.
Amazing.
Oh,
Emotionally horrible.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Good stuff there. Yeah, we'll be interested to see that because they really kind of rallied around the injured Mel and came back and played quite strongly. Case, what you got for me?
I'm going to go with just kind of speaking into the ether and hoping that officials that are in charge of, you could make this more broad about children of all ages, but of the athletes, the young men and women who are going to be making a decision about their own health and wellness as they attend campus. I just hope that the officials make their decisions with the right things in mind, and keep their eye on the ball metaphorically and not necessarily literally.
Very good thoughts there for sure. The health and safety of the student athlete is certainly the first and foremost. answer to any of these equations that are ahead of us and questions. Stay healthy, all. All right, Jared's out in the parking lot with his euphonium playing R&B music for the customers at the bank right now. We can't hear him, unfortunately, because his mic is muted. All right, but everybody have a great week. We'll gather here together around the old Skype next Saturday for more Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast information for you. Be safe, be well, folks.
All right, thanks.